Look at this number, 99.9%. For 99.9% of human history, that magic light switch simply did not exist. When the sun set, the world went dark. And I mean completely, utterly alien dark. There were no streetlights, no neon signs. For most of that time, there weren't even candles. It was just a pitch-black sky, the stars, and an overwhelming, terrifying vulnerability. For over 300,000 years, every single one of your ancestors spent roughly half of their entire life trapped in this total blackness.
So it begs the question, how on earth did we survive? Well, before we learned to control fire, our ancestors lived exactly like the other primates you see on this evolutionary tree. You didn't have tools to fight in the dark. So when the sun went down, you climbed a tree. You found a thick branch high off the ground. You held on tight. And you stayed perfectly, silently still until morning.
Why? Because moving at night literally meant becoming food. Think about our evolutionary night vision. It was terrible back then, and it's still terrible today. You couldn't even see your own hand in front of your face. But the apex predators hunting out there on the African savanna, the leopards, the hyenas, they could see perfectly. The night was absolutely not for resting. It was a time of pure, absolute terror.
But then, everything changed. We experienced one massive, unimaginable technological leap. We learned to control fire. Imagine what that felt like. A campfire created a literal 30-foot circle of safety in the wilderness. And this was a hard, non-negotiable boundary. Inside that glowing circle, in the light and the warmth, you lived, you were safe. But step outside that circle, into the pitch black, you died.
But here is where it gets incredibly fascinating. Fire gave us something way more profound than just physical protection. It miraculously extended the human day. It gave us a gift that our primate cousins never, ever had. Suddenly, up to 4 usable hours were added to our lives every single day. The useful, waking day no longer ended at sunset. Humanity just unlocked extra time. And what we decided to do with those extra 4 hours? It changed our species forever. See, during the day, human conversation was purely practical. It was all about logistics. Who is hunting where? Which plants are ready to forage? How do we survive today? But nighttime talk? The exact moment we gathered around that fire, the entire tone of the conversation shifted. It became about stories. It became about myths, jokes, and distant places.
Don't just take my word for it. Anthropologists went out and studied some of the last remaining hunter-gatherer groups on Earth, and they discovered something truly incredible. Look at this breakdown. A massive 81% of campfire talk is devoted entirely to storytelling, bonding, and shared imagination. Only a tiny 19% fraction is left for those practical logistics.
Researchers actually call this the firelight niche, and it became the absolute incubator for human culture. The campfire was the original theater. It was the original classroom, the original church. Sitting in the dark, watching the flames, it taught our ancestors to think beyond the immediate stressful present and to start imagining things that didn't even exist yet. Literally, this is where we became us.
But the night wasn't just about the beautiful stories told around the embers. There was a forgotten, deeply biological secret happening in the dark too. You see, our ancestors did not sleep the way you and I sleep right now. If you think getting 8 straight hours is the natural human way, you're in for a surprise. They did not sleep in one continuous block.
For thousands and thousands of years, the universal human pattern was something called segmented sleep. Here's how it worked. You went to bed shortly after sunset and you slept for about 4 hours. This was your first sleep. Then you naturally woke up in the dead of night for a period known as the watch. You stayed awake for an hour or two, and finally you went back into a second sleep until dawn. This wasn't a sleep disorder. This was perfectly normal.
So, what did humans actually do during this wakeful period in the middle of the dark night? The watch was this peaceful, highly meditative window of time. People didn't stress out about being awake. They used it for quiet reflection, for prayer, for dream interpretation, for intimacy, or simply lying in the dark thinking and planning for the day ahead. It was this beautiful built-in period of pause that we just don't have anymore.
And honestly, the most fascinating part of all of this isn't just some dusty ancient history. When modern humans are put in a lab and experimentally deprived of artificial light for 14 hours a day, a profound shift occurs. Within a matter of weeks, they naturally revert right back to segmented, biphasic sleep. First sleep, the watch, second sleep. It means an ancient biological program is literally still waiting inside us, just buried under centuries of artificial light.
Yet, as our cities grew, so did our obsession with conquering the darkness. Just think about the word curfew. It actually comes from the medieval French phrase couvre-feu, which literally translates to cover the fire. Medieval societies revered and feared the dark so intensely that bells would ring to force everyone to extinguish their fires. It was actually illegal in many places to wander around at night without a lantern. We believed the night belonged to criminals and the supernatural. We were terrified of it.
And because we feared it so much, we decided to destroy it. The commercialization of the electric light bulb in 1879 officially brought the end of darkness. In a single generation, we completely eradicated 300,000 years of evolutionary night. We flooded our streets, our buildings, and our bedrooms with relentless, glowing light. And for a long time, we really thought we had won.
But we didn't fully understand what we were breaking in the process. Have you heard of melatonin? It's basically the biochemical correlate of darkness. It's what regulates your sleep and repairs your cells. But here's the catch. Your body literally does not know the difference between a light bulb and the actual sun. When blue light from your screen hits your retina at 11 p.m., your brain is absolutely convinced it's daytime. It violently suppresses your melatonin. It completely shatters our ancient rhythm. Which brings us to a really curious question. Is waking up at 2 a.m. actually a disorder? Today, you wake up in the middle of the night, you look at your phone, you panic, and we call it insomnia. We treat it with pills and anxiety. But what if lying awake in the dark isn't your body malfunctioning at all? What if it's just your primal biology, desperately trying to remember that lost meditative watch period it was perfectly built for? For 300,000 years, our brains, our bodies, and our entire culture were shaped by the absolute, unbroken darkness of the night. We gathered around fires. We told the myths that built human civilization. We slept in 2 peaceful phases, and we traded all of that deep, reflective peace for the convenience of a light switch. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final thought. Ask yourself, what would really change if you turned off all the lights tonight?